What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Active Self Protection Extra. I am Christopher Bean with Tactical Advantage, and today we're going to talk about variety in your practice.
Palm pepper spray is next generation OC spray. It's hot at 1.4% major capsaicinoids, and its modular design means you can customize it exactly to you. 3 different setups, lots of different color combinations. You can make it exactly as you like. And the flip top safety prevents accidental discharges. It's 10 to 12 foot range and 25 half-second blasts. Make sure that you can keep that long range eye poke at long range. I trust Palm OC and I recommend it for everyone for self-defense.
So, what's up, everybody? So, in addition or part of the series I'm trying to do, just talking through like practice, I thought it made sense to talk a little bit about like variety in what you're doing. What I see a lot when people get stuck or hit plateaus is they're really doing one particular thing over and over and over again, like just extreme repetition on one particular skill that doesn't really allow them to diversify the ability to apply that skill in differing environments. For example, people that are just straight up 100% of the time doing like draw to first shot. That's the entirety of their dry practice sessions is just say maybe 20 practice draws without really paying attention to any of the periphery of that particular skill. So what I try and do, like last time we talked a little bit about goal setting, having an idea of what it is that you're trying to achieve and creating a more well-rounded approach to your practice that will yield more in the medium or longer term. So, like from time to time, if I develop like a hitch in my draw stroke, I will micro drill that out, but I won't make that the entirety of a practice session. What I've kind of learned over time is to do a multitude of different things that incorporate the different things or different tasks kind of together. And that allows me the ability to see how that particular skill integrates in my overall shooting. So that's why I do a lot of like dry firing of drills in their entirety or longer chain exercises. Say maybe dry firing a bill drill, dry firing Gabe White standards, things like that. Really, why I work a lot on reloads, just because I'm differing the application, but the same pieces that I'm trying to work on are still incorporated in the overall action set, if that makes sense. So variety, it's almost like if we framed it in like musicianship. So if you're learning to play guitar and you're playing one specific sequence of notes, but that's all you ever play, when you integrate that sequence of notes in performance or in the midst of a song or something like that, it feels disjointed because you've never practiced it in such a way that it integrates into an overall larger picture. So that's really why I think variety is very, very much important. So, and I also know that these conversations are kind of figurative and it may be kind of heady or kind of odd for some people to hear, but I urge you to do more than just that one task. Incorporate things that allow you to make that performance of said task kind of subconscious. So, for instance, let's say doing like a reload kind of drill or a two reload two kind of drill, there's a draw. You're breaking grip and doing another physical action that's very different from the draw. But after that physical action takes place, you're reestablishing grip, which is part of a draw stroke, reestablishing sight picture, which is part of a draw stroke, and then initiating two more shots. So that's a longer chain exercise, and it allows you to put those concepts into play in a differing format than just doing a draw and forcing it up and taking a single shot. I also like to do things that are just very different. Changing target sizes is a big one. Changing distances is a big one. If you're doing things that are just completely repetitive in nature with no deviation, no variation, when you go to practice these skills in the real world and the sun's shining at a different angle, or it's cold, or the clothes you're wearing aren't the same clothes you wear every time you dry fire, more often than not, you're going to run into issues. You're going to feel uncomfortable. Something just won't feel right because that skill is dependent on environmental factors or factors of comfortability versus the concept of those skills is so ingrained into you that you can apply them in any given format that you'd like. So, I try and do just varying different things. I'll move like in my area. I'm fortunate enough that I have a relatively large area to dry fire in, but practice draws while stepping forward, practice draws while turning around, practice draws with differing hand positions, things like that. That gives it variety because that variety allows you to almost improvise in such a way that, okay, I understand what has to happen to do this well. So now any variability or any variable within that sequence, I understand the workaround. And then when you do have very conducive conditions to perform this task, it seems easy. That's something that I think gets left out a lot. We just want to push, 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 do this exact same thing the exact same way, and that's why people don't get inherently good at things, or get to the mastery of said things. What I tell a lot of people I talk to, and I frame a lot of stuff around musicianship, that someone that is technically skilled and can read a piece of music off a piece of paper and repeat or regurgitate that piece of music in real time may be good. But the whole point of learning that skill is learning to use that skill to improvise, to make music. That's where mastery comes from, or that's really what reflects mastery. So with that, I guess all I'm trying to say is if you have finite time to dedicate to dry fire, I think it's imperative that you put in as much variety and as much change into that dry fire as you can and start putting the pieces together on how differing exercises relate to one another so you can work on a wider variety of things while still potentially specializing in one thing. So, with that, going back to like exercises, like a bill drill. So, you have the draw, you have the establishment of grip, using that grip, the manipulation of the trigger. You do not need to rack your slide every time. You do not need to pull your trigger every time that you draw. Um, like I hardly ever, or rarely, I shouldn't say ever, but I rarely kind of rack my slide and actually pull a trigger to get a click, because I find that to be kind of carrot on a stick kind of thing. And it just doesn't work well for me. I've learned over time. So I'll just mash a dead trigger as hard as I can. Just hammer that trigger and try and move the gun. And then I'll do things like we talked about before with like a reload where I'm breaking grip, I'm doing something, hands to belt, hand to gun, represent, actuate trigger because a whole bunch has happened that disturbs the gun. And once that disturbance happens, I'm getting a whole bunch of extra repetitions in those finite pieces of the exercise under a differing kind of situation, which I find that to be super duper helpful. So, I'll probably do some more videos about exercises because some of the videos I've done are very precise in nature about what we're trying to discuss. Just the draw or this particular drill, this is how I dry fire it, this is how I manipulate time to increase skill, things like that. uh, maybe what I should probably do is just a 15-minute video from start to finish of what one of my dry fire sessions looks like, just to get an idea of the differing things I'm doing and how I'm trying to introduce complication or introduce volatility in my practice, so I'm a better overall practitioner because I've already built in some of this adversity into the training. I think it's important. So I hope this kind of makes sense for you guys to kind of think through and understand. And if you are in that loop of one trick pony stuff where I'm only doing this one thing, there's some resources out there to kind of look through and understand different ways to approach it, different exercises if you're not sure where to go. Refinement and Repetition would be one of them. That's a great book that has a lot of different exercises you can do. There's a ton of resources. The Ask Dry Fire Challenge. There's some other resources on Facebook that can help you find some different things to do, or simply ask in the comments. I try personally to watch the comments for a couple weeks, just to see if anything pops up to kind of talk through. And I know we curate the comments at Active Self Protection for quite some time. So ask. What we will continue in this series, I probably have one or two videos left to go. We're going to talk about journaling. We're going to talk about bolstering your self image while you're practicing. So when it comes time to perform, you have the correct outlook. I don't really like to use the word mindset because I think that's a catch all word, but the correct approach to perform at your very highest levels. And there's a whole bunch of variability in that and some things that you'd have to explore, but I think it's worth talking through. So, with that, thanks you guys for the opportunity. Keep practicing, keep getting better. I appreciate the work. So, I will see you next time.